Hello students, this is Roma David, your maths teacher from Cambridge International School, Dasua. I hope you all are good, and this initiative taken by CIS Dasua is helping you to learn and grow during this lockdown period. In the previous sessions, we have learnt about ratio and proportion, direct proportions, and how to divide a quantity in the given ratio. I hope you have understood these concepts and you have also solved the worksheets, and answer keys are also provided on the next day. I hope you are checking the answers. And children, we all at Cambridge International School, Dasua, are trying our best to teach you at the comfort of your home, and I expect that you are also doing your work religiously. Before moving on to our today's topic, let's revise in brief what we have done till now. So first thing is ratio. Ratio is the comparison between two quantities and is represented as A ratio B, A to B, or A upon B. Then we have done proportion. Proportion is an equation which states that two ratios are equal. For example, if A and B and C to D are two ratios, then A ratio B is in proportion to C ratio D if the product of means is equals to product of extremes. Then we have done direct proportions. When an increase in one quantity causes increase in the other quantity, then the two quantities are said to be in direct proportion. For example, cost of candies and number of candies. Means if you want to buy more candies, then you have to pay more money, right? So these two are in direct proportion with each other. Now let's move on to our today's topic, that is inverse proportion, and let's try to understand this with the help of an example. So this is Chris, and he decided to go for a trekking, and he carried 15 food packets with him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Now, if he consumes one packet each day, then for how many days this food will last? I hope you have guessed right answer. So the right answer is 15 days. But 4 of his friends also decided to go for trekking with him. So Chris thought, well, that's great. Now the food will last for 75 days because 15 into 5 is 75. But is he correct? Or he has made any mistake in the calculation? Now let us take a look at the situation and see what would happen. Because one person consumes one food packet per day, so that means on day 1, 5 of the food packets will be consumed. And on day 2, another 5 of the food packets will be consumed. And similarly, on day 3, the remaining 5 food packets will be consumed by 5 of them. So what have you observed here? There were 15 food packets and 5 persons, and if they consume one food packet each day, then the food will last for only 3 days. That means if more people have joined, the number of days have been decreased. That is, more the number of people, less will be the number of days. But 2 of Chris' friends got some urgent work, so they did not go for the trekking. Now let's see for how long will the food last. As 6 food packets are left now, so 3 of them can use it for few more couple of days. So on 4th day, they consumed 3 packets, 1 packet for each, and on day 5, they consumed the last 3 packets also. So what have you observed here? As the number of people decreased, the number of days increased, right? That means if there are 3 persons, they can consume that food in 5 days. Means less the number of people, more will be the number of days. So if we take a look at the overall situation, what happened here is that as the number of people increased, the number of days the food will last that decreased. Or in other words, you can say that number of people and number of days the food will last, they are in inverse proportion. Okay. So what is inverse proportion? When an increase in one quantity causes decrease in other quantity, then those two quantities are said to be in inverse proportion. Or decrease in one quantity causes increase in the other. Okay, one is increasing, other one is decreasing. Or if one is decreasing, the other one increases. That means the opposite happens. Then the two quantities are said to be in inverse proportion. And what was direct proportion? When increase in one quantity causes increase in the other quantity, then the two quantities are in direct proportion with each other. Okay, so if in one quantity increases, other also increases, that is the direct proportion. And if one quantity increases, the other one decreases, that is the inverse proportion. So you have to distinguish for each question between direct and inverse proportion. Now let's get back to our previous problem and try to understand it mathematically. So what we have observed in that example, that if only one person is there, then food will last for 15 days. If 5 persons are there, then the food will last for 3 days. And if 3 persons were there, then the food will last for 5 days. So the two quantities that we have here are person, number of person, and days. Okay, so if there is only one person, the food will last for 15 days. If there are 5 persons, then the food will last for 3 days. So how do we equate these? Ratio of number of persons, that is 1/5. This is equal to number of persons are increasing, the days are decreasing. So we have understood that this is the question of inverse. So in that case, 1/5 is equal to 3/15. Remember that you have to take the inverse. Okay, we can't write 1/5 is equal to 15/3. Fine. Or you can see that after cancelling 3 and 15, you will get 1/5. So 1/5 is equal to 3/15. And if number of persons are 3, then the food lasted for 5 days. So in that case, 5/3 is equals to inverse of this. So that means this will be 5/3. Okay. Now let us take a look at an example and learn how we will actually use this method to solve the problems related to inverse proportion. So the example is, if 8 people can pick the apples from the trees in 6 days, how long will it take 12 people? So first of all, you have to distinguish that whether it is of direct proportion and inverse proportion. So just for an instant, 8 people can pick the apples in 6 days. So if I decrease the people, if I decrease the number of people, then will it take more days to pick the apples or it will take less days? Obviously, if I decrease the number of people, like suppose if it is only 5 people are there, then obviously it will take the more days. If I decrease the number of people, the number of days will increase. So that means this is the question of inverse proportion. Fine. And there are two ways to solve inverse proportion as well. One is the ratio method. So first of all, I'm going to discuss the ratio method. In that method, you have to identify the two quantities. Okay, so the two quantities are per people and days. So if there are 8 people, then they can pick the apples from the tree in 6 days. Now if there are 12 people, then how long will it take to pick those apples? So suppose that variable is x. Okay, now I have told you that in case of inverse, 8 over 12 is equal to inverse of this. It is not equal to 6 upon x, it is equal to x upon 6. Okay, so after doing the cross multiplication, x is equals to 8 multiplied by 6 upon 12, and you can cancel out the common factors, so this will be 4. So if 12 people pick the apple from the tree, then they will take 4 days to do the work. See, as the number of people are increasing, they will do the same work within less number of days. So this is how we solve the problems related to inverse proportion using ratio method. Next we will discuss unitary method. So now we know that 8 people pick the apples in 6 days. So how long one person will take to pick those apples? So in case of direct proportion, we have divided 6 and 8, but now this is a question of inverse, so we will do the inverse operation. Now we will not divide, we will multiply. 6 multiplied by 8, so that means one person will take 48 days to pick those apples. Okay, so but now we want to find out for 12 people. So 12 people pick the apples in. So now in case of direct proportion, we multiplied at this point, now we will divide. Okay, so 48 divided by 12, that is 4 days. Just remember, in case of inverse, we have to perform inverse operation. At this point we have to multiply, and to find out for more number of people, we have to divide. Okay, remember that. So the next example is, a cyclist averages a speed of 27 km per hour for 4 hours. At what average speed would she need to cycle to cover the same distance in 3 hours? So this example is related to speed and time. So we know the equation that speed is equals to distance upon time, right? So you can see from this equation also that speed and time, they are inversely proportional. If it is written in the numerator like speed and distance, they are directly proportional. Like more the speed, more distance will be covered. But because time is written in the denominator, so that means speed and time, they are inversely proportional. So how much speed is required? Speed needed to cover the distance in 4 hours, that is equals to 27 km per hour. So if I want to cover the same distance in 1 hour, okay, for 1 hour, then I have to increase the speed or lower the speed. Obviously, if I want to cover the distance in less time, then I have to increase the speed. So that means I have to multiply 27 with 4. Okay, so this much speed is required to cover the distance in 1 hour. But now the question is that the distance needed to be covered in 3 hours. So for 3 hours, it is equals to 27 into 4 upon 3. So after doing the cancellation, we will get 36 km per hour. So that means 36 km per hour speed is required to cover the same distance. Here the distance remains a constant in 3 hours. I hope now you can distinguish between direct proportion and inverse proportion. So our today's topic was inverse proportion. So let us revise what was inverse proportion. Two quantities are said to be in inverse proportion if increase in one quantity causes proportional decrease in other quantity. Fine. And like direct proportion, the questions related to inverse proportion can also be solved with the help of ratio method and unitary method. Worksheet is also attached with the Facebook post. Go through it and I hope you will be able to solve those questions easily. Alright students, that's all for today. Now we will meet on Monday and learn a new topic, that is increase and decrease a quantity by given ratio. Till then, stay safe, have a wonderful weekend and thank you for watching this video.